Hello and welcome to today's webinar, How to Captivate and Engage Constituents with Your Website. Your presenter, Jay Wilkinson, is an entrepreneur and innovator who serves as the CEO of Firespring, a Nebraska-based certified B corporation. In 2016, Firespring was featured in Inc. magazine as one of the top 50 places to work in America. And as a philanthropist, Jay has raised millions of dollars for nonprofits and spends the majority of his time helping nonprofit organizations leverage their mission and deepen their impact. A graduate of MIT's Entrepreneurial Masters program, Jay has appeared on CNN and other national news outlets discussing the important role that nonprofits play here in our US economy. So I'm really thrilled that we have Jay here available to share all of his information and insight with you all. And of course, we're so happy that you're here joining us. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Jay. Thanks so much for joining us today.
With Julia, so I'm just going to go on ahead and get rolling here, but hopefully y'all are able to hear me. We are really excited to have you join us here today. First and foremost, it's important to know that what I'm about to share with you today is something that we will be happy to share and propagate to anyone else that you'd like to hear this. So the recording of the session, as well as copies of everything you see on the screen, will be made available to you after the session, so you can focus on the content and material and not worry about transcribing every single note that you're going to be inspired to write down, because there's so much information I'm going to be sharing with you today. A little bit about Firespring as we get started. We're located in Lincoln, Nebraska. We provide marketing, printing, websites, and strategic guidance. We have thousands of brands, businesses, and nonprofits in all 50 states that we work with, and we like to call where we are out here the middle of everywhere, right there in the center, in the breadbasket of the country. My family settled here in the mid 1800s on both sides, and so it's an important part of my heritage and background. And as we get started this morning, I want to share just a little tiny bit about Firespring's mission, because it's so important to me, to us, that we help elevate the conversation that's going on around the country, especially as it relates to the importance of purpose-driven businesses. And so our mission at Firespring is to leverage our people, our products, and our profit to do more good in the world. And we do that through our Power of Three program, where we generate, hold on just a second, I noticed the camera just for some reason flipped off on me. See if I can get that fixed. And well, we're going to switch over the camera here and see if we can make this work. My apologies on that. All right, we're back. Okay, so we give 1% of our top line revenue to nonprofit organizations around the country that we support. 2% of our products and services are given away in kind, and then 3% of our people. And that's accomplished by having every team member at Firespring volunteer one full day every month for a nonprofit of their choice. They go out into the community and volunteer for organizations that align with them personally, not necessarily those that are aligned with the company or with Firespring. So the topic of the day is so critically important. It is the foundation of the marketing, the core center of our brand. Our website serves as the center of our universe when we're a nonprofit organization. And certainly, no, I'm not talking about the important work that we do in our communities. I'm talking about the brand and reputation universe. It's the way that people are able to connect with us 24/7, 365. It's a way for us to be able to put our organization, our mission, our purpose out to the world in a way that makes it simple for them to understand who we are, what we're about, the good work that we do. It's really critically important that we focus on our website. In fact, the American Marketing Association, AMA, has done a survey for years, for more than a decade, for actually 20 years. The number one most important thing that we can do for marketing and brand awareness is to be focused on our website. It's the most important way for us to get a positive return on the investment. So we're going to really go into the rabbit hole today and hyper focus on how to build a powerful and engaging website. And I'm going to share with you the one principle that every single nonprofit should be thinking about as it relates to their website, but probably isn't. So we'll get to that, I promise you. And then some specific action steps that we should be focused on tomorrow, next week, next month. You know, if you're going to spend the time over the course of the next 50 minutes, 45 minutes or so, if you're going to spend this time, why not take it and put it to action, put it to good use? Do one thing differently tomorrow that you weren't doing today. I encourage you to really think hard about, as we move through these 5 elements in particular, how you're going to apply those to the website you have today. If you are tweeting today, my hashtag, or the hashtag that I would encourage you to utilize, is powered by purpose. So hashtag powered by purpose. That way others can follow along. My handle on Twitter is jwelk if you'd like to connect with me there. And a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing, in fact, the bulk of the information I'm sharing, you can find even more detail in my book called Captivate and Engage, the Definitive Guide for Nonprofit Websites. So happy to share that link with you as well. So why do nonprofits struggle so much? Well, here's what we know. We know that according to Nonprofit Hub, 81% of websites that are built in the nonprofit sector are designed for $1,000 or less. 81% designed for $1,000 or less. And we think that that is driven mostly by this mindset that we have in the nonprofit sector, this mantra, if you will, that we're always trying to do more with less. You ever heard those words? I know every time I attend a nonprofit conference and engage in the nonprofit sector, I hear it over and over again. We're trying to do more with less. We're a nonprofit, so we just don't have the budgets that that the for-profit side has. So I hear this over and over and over again. Sometimes I refer to this as the do it cheap mentality, or the executive director's really smart 14-year-old niece with a computer syndrome, where we take these really important things that we're doing and we insource them to people inside or connected to the organization that we think can help, because we simply don't have the budget or the resources to pay for whatever it might be. So I'm going to pose the question, what's more important? Is it more important that our website be cheap or that it be effective? I think we all will answer the same question, right? We all know that it's really important that it's effective, but how can we do that if the primary focus is to spend as little money as possible on putting something out there? I would contend that we shouldn't have to choose between cheap or effective. What we should be thinking about is, how much do we need to spend in order for the website that we build to return a positive investment to us? What if we spend enough that it increases our donations, our revenue, our contributions, however we measure it, decreased expenses, all of these different things that we can measure? What if we focused on spending just enough that it increases the return on investment so it's positive? I know nonprofits personally that have spent, and believe me, I'm not suggesting that anyone do this by any sense, because it's not necessary, but I know nonprofits who have spent $50,000 or more on building a website. I know other nonprofits that have spent $500 or more. And many of those that have spent a lot of money ended up having a huge positive return. They increased attendance at their annual events, or increased donations, contributions, whatever, and easily recaptured that 50 grand over the course of a couple of years. Where some of these people I know who built a $500 website threw their money away because they ended up building an online brochure with a couple of photographs and a mission statement that served really no functional purpose. Who spent the most money? I think that we can make an argument that it's not about how little we spend, it's about what do we need to put in to make it powerful and effective. And the great news is, by the time you are done with this session today, you're going to know exactly what it takes to build a powerful and engaging website. So I want to start with this construct that when people come to our website, there's a lot of things that they're looking to do. Maybe they want to read our blog posts, or make a donation, or sign up to volunteer, or look through our calendar of events and perhaps register for an upcoming event. Whatever it is, we bring them into our website. And then what the majority of us do is we send them right back off to some other module or widget or tool in order for them to effectively engage with us. We're sending them off to someone else's website because we built our website probably in WordPress, And whoever built the website, even if it's a high-end firm like Firespring that you hire to build these websites, oftentimes we web designers will use modules or plugins that we find out that in the universe that are free of charge. We've built hundreds of websites in WordPress specifically, and we know exactly how this works. We build them out using the tools that are available to us, and oftentimes these modules or plugins don't have the full effectiveness that we need or that we're looking for. And what do we do about that? It was free. We went to a free resource guide and we found it and just plugged it in. So there's not a whole lot we can do. So then we go searching for another module or plugin or tool, and we go through this process back and forth, back and forth. And what ends up happening is we build our websites with this disparate, like uneven experience. So people coming to it never feel a sense that they're on the same website in the same place, because they're kind of shotgunning out to these different places. I call them Frankenstein websites because it feels like the parts are just kind of bolted on. And that's the way most websites are built in the nonprofit sector. The vast majority, I would say 90% plus. So what I'm going to share with you now is a framework and a structure that I would highly recommend to think through these 5 powerful and engaging elements that I'm about to share with you. When you look at your existing website and where you want to take it, where you want to build it, really think about how you can elevate these 5 elements I'm about to share with you. And as I go through these, judge yourself. This is one of those times when it's okay. Let's evaluate how we're doing on these 5 major elements that I'm about to dig into the rabbit hole a little bit on. So the first of the 5 elements is that of structure. The structure, of course, is the way that we build our website out, the way that it's built so that it can intuitively make it possible for us to kind of know what we're looking at and where we're going. We want to build a website structure that does a really good job of making it clear as to what our options are and how to navigate and how to get around. So at the highest level, we have the high-level menu hierarchy. In this example that I have on the screen for nature.org, you can see they have 4 different major categories: about us, what we do, get involved, and then membership and giving. Those are the 4 categories they determined with a lot of research made the most sense for them. As a visitor logs in and clicks on their website and sees it for the first time, it gives them a high-level understanding of how they're going to navigate through. But the key to having a great site structure is to have navigational options so that I can find my way around. So for example, a search bar of some sort, a search tool that makes it simple for me to type in a keyword or phrase and have pages on the website display in front of me so I can choose where it is that I want to go. Maybe a sitemap, which might be a pull-up or a pull-down menu, or some kind of a place where I can see all the major sections or elements all in the same place. The great thing about these sitemaps is that they not only aid in our navigation, but they also help tremendously with findability, the indexability of the website. So when we get archived into and indexed in all of the search engines, when people are looking for certain things, they're going to find their way to our website because of the work that we've done on these sitemap pages. The key here is is to have different ways to get around, to navigate the site based on however I choose to navigate it as a visitor to the website. The second of the 5 elements is the element of design. Design is about how the website makes us feel. It's really about telling the story of your organization through the design, through the words and the pictures on the page. We mostly get this wrong in the nonprofit sector for whatever reason, because a lot of us think that design is about making it look beautiful, having beautiful colors and photographs, and making sure that when someone lands on the website, they are drawn in and intrigued by the sheer beauty that they see on the screen. And that's great. It's so awesome if you can pull that off, but it's not critical. The critical aspect of design is really simple. It's using the words and the pictures on the page to tell the story of the organization. So the second we land there, we know who you are and what you're about based on what we see on the page. An organization that does this really well is Habitat for Humanity of Greater Newburgh. So if you go to habitatnewburgh.org, you can see on the front page of their website is a family. Clearly, they're on the threshold of their new home. They have a little, the young woman in the front row is holding a little sign that says home on it, welcome home. We get it, we connect, we understand what this organization does, who they are, what they're about. And it happens instantaneously because they've designed it in such a way that the photographs and the words on them on the home page tell the story of who this organization is. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Here's another organization that actually does this well, even though it's a hard organization to explain really quickly on a website. It's the Cryptologic Foundation. So this is the National Cryptologic Museum Foundation that supports the museum that really highlights the intelligence community, the United States intelligence community, and they do a really good job. There's a photograph of this antique code keyboard, and the headline, Cybersecurity and Cryptology Today. It tells the story. I know who this organization is. I'm going to share another one, an organization that's really hard to understand based on the name. It's an organization that goes by an acronym. And a lot of us think, oh boy, an acronym, because these acronyms are so it makes it so difficult for people to really know what the organization is, what it stands for, because you can't tell by using words like NCM, the National Cryptologic Museum. They lead with their name, not the acronym. But I'm going to share an example of an organization that does a great job with telling the story of the organization, even though they lead with an acronym. The name of the organization is EDSF.org. So maybe it'll help us if we know the full name of this organization. Well, the full name, if you look down at the bottom of the page, is the Electronic Document Scholarship Foundation. Okay, well, that still does us no good. We still have no idea what they do based on that name either. But this is interesting. We've actually heat mapped this particular page. That means that we've put it in front of a user group, and we've watched their eyeballs to kind of see where they go. We track them through a special device in the monitor, and we know that when the average visitor comes to this website, they scan this photograph. They see the students. They clearly identify them as students, because the majority of them, all but one, are holding up technology and the clothes they're wearing. They're sitting on a bench that appears to be scholastic looking, and it just looks and feels like maybe college students. That's what most people think when they see this photograph, and they instantly make that connection. So the graphic does a good job of telling that story or setting the premise of who the audience is. And then the headline says, where are they going? Well, as far as their dreams will take them, says the subheadline. And then there are two buttons, donate now and apply for scholarships. So as a visitor to this website, my brain takes me on a quick 2.5-second journey. Again, this is what we've tracked in terms of the eyeball tracker as we heat map these. It scans the photograph, it reads where are they going, scrolls down, as far as their dreams will take them, donate now, apply for scholarships. That's what the order that our brain typically consumes this information in. And that's enough to tell us that what this organization exists for is to help make it possible for high school students to become educated in college, and that this is where they can apply for those scholarships. We know that much. Now, what we know, I know this organization exists in the graphic arts industry as a way to help propagate and provide collegiate resources for high school students, and that's exactly what the brain will take us through when someone lands on this website. So I'll put it this way: if an organization who calls themselves EDSF by the acronym can do such a good job telling their story when landing on their homepage, there's not an organization partaking in this session today that isn't able to do that. It's important that we just figure out how we can use a powerful graphic or image combined with headlines and buttons or action calls to action of some sort that compel us and draw us in, that will give us enough context to know the story behind this organization. That's what we're trying to accomplish. All right, number 3, content. Now, content, as they've said all the way back from the mid-90s when Al Gore invented the internet and gave us this wonderful gift, content is king. And I do believe that is indeed the case. But I think that maybe in 2020, we should consider tweaking this a little bit. And instead of saying content is king, maybe it makes a little more sense for us to say context is king, meaning the relevancy of the information that we share on our homepage. That's really what's king. I remember back in the early days of the internet, I would go to websites like I remember once looking up a company in Pittsburgh, and on their website, on the home page of their website, they had a printout, and it was, in fairness, it was in the season, but they had a printout or an actual graphic on the homepage of their website of the Pittsburgh Steelers football schedule, because their thinking at the time was in the late 90s. Their thinking at the time was, well, gosh, if people will come here to just look up the date and time of the next game, then it's gonna drive traffic and people are gonna be aware of us. Well, that was before Google existed. It was before you could GTS, Google that blank at any time and search for and find anything and answer to whatever it is that you're looking for. That was before all that existed. Now, it's so critically important that the context, the information, the way it connects with our audience is as important, if not more important, than just the sheer volume of content itself. So organizations that do this well, one is nonprofitrisk.org. This is an organization that exists for the purpose of helping other nonprofit organizations manage their risk. And if you come into their website and you click here on this resources section and you go into their resource library, there are tons of infographics and articles and tutorials and webinars. They do such a great job organizing the content in such a way that when I come to it, I know exactly how to find it and I know where to go for it. So the content is deep and it's diverse. Another example is childrensrights.org. You come into their newsroom and they have press releases and fact sheets, and under the fact sheets category, they have finding permanent families or aging out or child abuse and neglect or foster care. Great resources that we're probably looking for on this website. These are the kind of things we're coming here for, and we can navigate right to them without having to search through other things we're not interested in. So the key to making sure that we maintain a high level of context in all of our content, the key is having the ability for you and other members of your team to update and modify the content of your own website without having to go through a third party, without having to send a note to your 14-year-old niece who's somehow figured out how to build this amazing website for us, or a firm or an outside company, a board member, whomever. We need to make sure that we have the ability to update and modify the content on our own website ourselves, and we do that with a content management system. It is the key to maintaining fresh, relevant content on our website. And in most websites, you have the ability to go to a content management system, click on a button and say, all right, this is the page that I want to update. This is the content I want to update, and then click enter and save, and it allows you to just make an update to that content. It should be that simple. It should be drop and drag, point and click simple for you and other members of your team to update and modify that content, because I know what happens and you know what happens if you don't have the ability to do that yourself. If you have to go through a gatekeeper to do it, it may be 2 weeks, it may be 2 months, maybe 2 years if you're lucky, but at some point, you're going to come to that point in time when whoever's updating this content for you just simply doesn't have the time anymore. They no longer have the bandwidth, or they've gotten a new job, or something has come up and they just can't do it anymore. So our website over time becomes more and more stagnant until it finally just, dies on the vine because it's been unattended for 6 months, 9 months, a year, adding very little new content to it. This is what happens when we don't have a simple point and click, drop and drag, easy content management system. And every organization should have a minimum of 3 people who have the ability to update and modify the content for that organization. A minimum of 3 people. So you and 2 others, if you're on this website or if you're on this webinar today, tells me that you are in a role where you should likely have access to do the content update yourself. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about changing the design or going in and building out a section. I'm talking about updating and modifying content. You have an event coming up and you forgot to put the dress code, so you can come back and say, all right, it's going to be business casual, and maybe link to a guide that shows you what that means, whatever. You should be able to make those kind of updates yourself without having to go through someone else to do them. Number 4 is functionality. Functionality refers to the tools that we build into our websites that make it not only possible, but in many cases necessary for us to use this website as a way to functionally engage with an organization. So what we're talking about here is the ability to do all kinds of different things, to take action, to scroll through an event calendar, to connect with the organization, to read up on the programs and services, maybe to make an online donation, all of these functional tasks that we can come to the website and perform. Maybe it's to sign up for our newsletter or to sign up to volunteer, or perhaps the number 1 most requested thing. We know this because we've had thousands of end users, people that nonprofit organizations serve, the constituents, the board members, the volunteers that the nonprofits work with all over the country. We've had them in focus groups and we've asked them, the nonprofit organization that you are served by, or maybe that you serve as a board member, volunteer, whatever, as a donor, what do they need to have in their website that would compel you to want to engage with them more, that would make it feel like that they're living up to the promise that you feel they should be making if you're going to be supporting the organization in whatever way you support them? Number 1 thing that they're looking for, the number 1 functional tool, is event registration. They want to be able to come to the website and sign up for and pay for events right there through your website. And I'm going to break a few hearts when I say this next thing, and so I apologize if this hurts your feelings, what I'm about to say, but you probably need to hear it if this applies to you. But having a PDF form on your website that I have to print out, fill out manually, scan, somehow email it, get it, as an attachment back to you, that is not online registration. That's online frustration. And it's important that we have the ability for people not to necessarily, now a PDF form is great. It's a great side benefit. So if I want to print out a PDF, fill it out, hand it to our bookkeeper and say, hey, would you send in a payment with this? That's great. Have it available. But the primary focus of event registration should be the ability to consummate the purchase of tickets or events, registration, whatever it is, right there on the website without having to do a lot of manual work. I want to be able to consummate that purchase right there through your website. If you want to make sure you have a positive ROI on your website, so you increase revenue and contributions, one of the best ways you can do that is to get more people to attend and participate in your various events. And the easier you make it for them through the compelling resources and information and content you're going to share on your website, as well as the easy functional tools that makes it possible for them to sign up and purchase tickets really simply, the combination of that is really powerful and will help you create a really high positive ROI for your website. And that takes us to the 5th and final element. So many of us know The Fifth Element, right? It's a great movie. It's one of Bruce's best. But the 5th element in this case is really about vitality. And vitality, simply put, is the perception of the freshness of content. Again, perception of the freshness of content. That is vitality. And what that says is that when people come to our website, we need to give them this sense, this feeling that the entire website is constantly being updated. An organization who does this really well is Michael J. Fox. You go to his website, you'll see that on the front page, there's dated content. And I'm going to share this vitality formula with you that Michael J. Fox's organization figured out somewhere along the road, and that we highly encourage you to adapt for your own website so that you have dated content on the front page of your website. And that dated content should appear never more than 7 days apart. So once a week, it means you're adding it. And you should show 3 occurrences, because that tells the brain that this is going on a regular basis. Simply by adding this basic formula, dated content on your front page, never more than 7 days apart, and show 3 occurrences, simply by doing that, it will drive the vitality rating of your website through the roof. And what the vitality rating means is primarily repeat visitors. These people who come to your website and then later will come back because they remember there being something there that's of value to them. Having dated content on your front page and showing that it's always fresh makes me feel like your entire website must be updating and evolving all the time, even if it's not. So imagine just for a moment, when someone comes to your website, without them knowing it, these hands like appear on the website and it spreads in front of them and says, this entire website is up to date. It's like playing a Jedi mind trick on all of the people that are coming in and making them feel compelled to want to come back because it feels like there's going to be something there for them. Now, there's a simple way to adopt this. It's not the recommended way, but there is a simple way. The simple way is to spend a couple of hours over the weekend coming up with 52 inspirational thoughts or quotations that jive with the mission of your organization. Go to any one of the dozens of free image websites. Just search for free images on the website, and it'll take you to all kinds of websites where you can download. And so you have 52 inspirational thoughts of the day, along with a powerful image that corresponds with that. Hand them over to your web developer and say, I want one of these to show up every Monday morning at 6 a.m. So once a week, Monday mornings, next quotation of the day. That's the easy way out. You can set that up in a matter of hours on a weekend, and it's done for the entire year. The recommended way is to actually activate the people in your organization to write on behalf of the organization and to blog. And I'm not talking about social media posts. I'm talking about blogging, content that is something that I can read and digest and interact with. You use social media to share it out to the world, but having a blog on your website built into your website, so yourorganization.org/blog, not on LinkedIn or some other place, is one of the most powerful things you can do for so many different things, including your findability, your searchability, but also going back to this vitality component, it is what makes people want to come back to your website once they've been there before. And we measure this. You probably have the ability to measure this as well, where you can look at your analytics and you can see, well, how many repeat visitors did we have in June or May, or you can go back as far as you want to and just kind of get a sense as to how many repeat visitors do you have. We have never implemented this vitality formula in any one of the thousands of nonprofit websites that we do around the country, never where we've measured it to begin with and measured it later, where it hasn't had a more than double-digit increase, at least 10% or more. Because what it does is it makes me feel like there's something there for me. I'm going to come back to it. So this vitality formula is really important. We have an entire session that drills into the power of blogging and thought leadership, that if you're interested and you want to know more about how to build that blog so that it's sustainable and you don't fizzle out and quit after 3 months, which is what most do. If you want to know how to do that right, I will teach you how. We've done tons of research on this, and it works incredibly well. If you follow the steps that we lay out in a separate session called The Power of Blogging and Thought Leadership, I will walk you through that process so you know exactly how to do it. So I encourage you to sign up for that session. I know we have one coming up not too far down the road here. So these are the 5 elements: structure, design, content, functionality, vitality. If you do these 5 things well, you're going to knock it out of the park. But man, oh man, if you do those 5 things well, but you also take into account what I'm about to share with you, you will truly raise the roof with the ROI of your web presence. And what I'm about to share with you is something that, for whatever reason, has been slow to take hold in the nonprofit sector. I think it's largely due to the fact that we have so many people in our sector who are accidental techies, the ones that are not necessarily technically inclined, certainly not a web developer or designer, but because there's no one else around, we're going to learn minimal skills and just try to do it ourselves. We see this all the time. And as a result, we end up not being able to do the kind of things I'm about to share with you, but it's so critically important. What I'm going to share with you is the top secret weapon that every nonprofit should be focused on as it relates to their website, but probably isn't. And that is the concept of landing pages. Now, landing pages is what we call them, but a better word might be action pages. It's a page like the one that I have on the screen, where when someone has clicked on a link, perhaps in Google, and it's brought them back here and dropped them off onto this page, the end user, whoever clicked on that link, they know exactly what it is that you want them to do as a result of having landed on this page, right? Take the pledge. 45,000 other people have done it. All they're asking for is an email and a zip code. Take the pledge. It's simple, it's straightforward, and it's something that's so important for us to be really focused on, because this is how we convert people that are casually connected to our organization, how we convert them to take action, whether it's taking a pledge, signing up to volunteer, maybe donating for the organization, whatever it might be, making a donation of some sort. We want to make sure that we give them a simple, straightforward process to do that. So think about all these different ways that people come into our websites. They come through social media like Facebook. They come through search engines like Google, or an appeal letter, maybe the annual letter we send out every November to try to connect with our longtime donors. Maybe they've clicked on a link in an email marketing, or they've read a blog post. However they've gotten there, they're coming to your website. And this is really important, what I'm about to share with you. They're coming to your website. You don't necessarily want to send them to the home page of your website, make them fend for themselves to kind of figure out how to take action or get involved. You want to instead send them to a landing page, a page that allows them to take action on whatever it is that you want them to take action on. Do you want them to sign up for email? Do you want them to make a donation? What is it that you want them to do? Make it really clear and simple for them to follow instructions by landing on a page that allows them to know exactly what to do. So it should have a powerful and engaging headline that complements the anchor text that brought them there. So like, for example, they clicked on a link in an email. The anchor text is the text that's a different color, or might have an underline under it, so we know it's an active link. We click on it, and when they land here on this page, the headline is going to correspond with whatever it said on the link that sent them there. It's going to have a powerful image or video to capture their attention. We're going to strip out both the top line and bottom navigation, so that the only option I have is either to click on the call to action, which we're coming to here in a moment, or clicking on the logo. What happens when you're on a website and you go click on the logo of the organization or the company? We've all been around the internet block. We know what happens. It takes you back to their home page, right? You click on the logo, it goes to the home page. We all know this. So you don't need to worry about them clicking on About Us or Donate Now if that's not the purpose or the call to action. And your web designers are likely going to fight you on this. And they're fighting you, so please don't get upset with them. They're doing the best they can, but they're probably fighting with you because they don't know that if you build out a page and you strip all the top and the bottom line navigation out, so that you make it really simple for the end user to know, what I want to do is register now. That's what we want them to do, or click on the logo and go back to the home page. But by simplifying and taking away their other options, it makes it substantially more likely that they're going to convert. In fact, building a website landing page the way I'm describing right now will increase conversions 10 times over people who just land on your homepage and then ultimately decide they want to do something like sign up for an event or whatever. It increases conversions 10 times. This is why we want to have landing pages on our website. So think of, you have your home page, you have interior pages or section pages, you have content pages inside of that where all the content lives, and then another kind of website page called a landing page that has a unique structure because it strips out all of the navigation on the top and the bottom and only makes it logical to click on the call to action or on the logo to go back home. That's what we want to create, is a landing page that makes it really simple for people to take action. If you want more information on landing pages, I have a very specific section where we jump into that hole, into the deep end of the pool, and talk nothing about landing pages for that entire session. So we can give you a lot of details about how, why, and what kind of landing pages to build. Every nonprofit, every one of us should have a minimum of 5 landing pages. So come to that session and learn how to do that. So let's dig into our action steps for today. Focus on return on investment. What matters is not how little we spend or how much we spend. What matters is that whatever we put into it, we know we're going to get more out of it than we put into it. That's what really matters. What's the ROI? Build a logical site structure that includes 3 or more different ways to navigate through the websites, like a search bar, pull up, pull down menu, the high level hierarchy, in between 4 and 8 options, never more than 8, never fewer than 4, because it gets complicated. Our brain doesn't really know how to compute that. Make sure that we have a design that pulls the end user's attention and that tells the story of our organization, so we know who you are and what you're about. Make sure that we are building content into the website for all types of end users. That content should be deep and diverse and ongoing. You should be adding new content weekly. Build in key functionality so that the people coming to the website can actually take action. They can do something meaningful when they come to the website. And then post dated content once a week, 3 occurrences with a date next to it, so that my brain tells me that they're doing this all the time. It creates that vitality we're talking about. And then, of course, use a content management system. Again, 3 or more people in every organization should have the ability to update and modify content on your website. Have a minimum of 5 landing pages to increase conversion and keep learning. I'm a huge believer in the learner's mindset as opposed to the knower's mindset. We all know those people who think they know everything and are looking forward to every opportunity to make sure you know it. They're not a lot of fun to be around, the knowers of the world. We want to be around fellow learners, people who open our mind and our brain to soak in as much as we can, knowing that we're on a journey to constantly evolve and improve. That learner's mindset is critical. And to that end, if you go to firespring.com/webinars, you get a list of all the different educational sessions we have coming up. We'd love to share more of our content with you. Another great resource for that is nonprofithub.org. It's the best resource that I've come across anywhere in the United States. It's an organization that exists for the purpose of helping other nonprofits maintain that learner's mindset. So it's chock full of articles and resources and information about how to become a better nonprofit organization. So I encourage you to use those resources and check them often. So our mantra at Firespring is to educate without expectations. And what that means to us is that we see our role in the sector to go out and seek what others are doing, to research best practices, to find them, to document them, to create training programs around them, and then to share them with you. That's what we're here for. And we love doing that. So you don't hear during our sessions, our webinars, unless it's specifically designed for that, a bunch of promotion of our products and services in our webinars. It's about you, and it's about elevating your game and becoming better at whatever it is that you're doing. In this case, around nonprofits and websites in particular. But for just a couple of minutes, and I want to be clear that I'm turning that corner here for just a couple of minutes, for just 2 or 3 minutes, I'm going to share with you a few things that we are working on here at Firespring that we think is going to help change the world for nonprofit organizations. We know, I shared this earlier, this fact that 81% of nonprofit websites are designed for less than $1,000 because we're always trying to do more with less. And as a result, this is a stat I didn't share with you. The average nonprofit starts over on their website every 2 to 2.5 years. That's mind-blowing for me. We come to the end of the road with our last designer, this awesome, wonderful, amazing human. By the way, I don't mean to cast any negative implications whatsoever on the go-to geeks in our world that are helping us, because they are doing amazing work. I've been the go-to geek in many organizations over the course of my lifetime. But there comes a time in many of them when they're, especially if they're volunteering, if they're not paid, if they're volunteers, there comes a time when they have to move on. Life happens. They get a new job, or they get a third job, or they have a child or a third child, or maybe they graduate from middle school. And now homework is all of a sudden really serious. I need to buckle down and focus on my studies. But the time comes when we have to move on. In the nonprofit sector, that averages every 2 to 2.5 years, where we move on to the next person who's going to help us figure out how to get a handle on our website. And we go through this cycle over and over and over again. We're trying to eradicate that issue in the nonprofit sector. So we built what we believe is the world's best website specifically for nonprofit organizations. And the way we built it out is you can take your existing website, the content, the photos, everything you've got now. And if you have that GoToGeek, that's fantastic. Have them help you with this process. But instead of building it out on WordPress or some other platform, move that into our content management system. So you build out your website on our content management system, which gives you unbridled access and simple use of being able to modify and move things around. But it also includes a fully responsive design, meaning that it's mobile friendly. So everyone on all of their mobile devices and their laptops and their iPads, they're going to be able to access your website and interact with your website in a really powerful and professional way. Email marketing, including complete email automation tools built right into your website, so you don't have to pay separately for that. So it's all part of this. Event registration tools. I mentioned it's the #1 thing that the end users are looking for, but this also makes it easy for you and your team to manage events through your website from front to back and manage everything in one place. The ability to do a really high-end, powerful blog. So this vitality thing becomes really easy. You can do your own blog managed on your own website. And we even give you some news feeds you can get started while you're trying to find the time to build out that content. We get you started on that. Turnkey landing pages. So I shared with you, #1 thing that nonprofits should be focused on as it relates to their website is building out landing pages as part of their websites. Well, we've built this technology out so that you can point and click and drop and drag and set up a landing page in less than 5 minutes. And it's built the proper way, following the proper protocols. And search engine optimization, so you will be found. Not only the tools, but the education and how to use those tools to make it easier for people to find you when they're looking for whatever it is that your organization does. And then lastly, fundraising campaigns that make it simple to raise money through your website. People will be able to come right to your website and make donations. They're not going to get kicked off to some other website where it feels like, okay, where am I going here? We lose over 20% of our donors, by the way, when we try to send them off to some other website like PayPal to make a donation because of the comfort level that's lost. So having the ability to build these fundraising campaigns right into your website is powerful and profitable. And then lastly, on top of all of this, everything is wrapped around our legendary support and training. We love doing what we do. Our people that work in our support team for all of the nonprofit clients that we have around the world, this is what they live for. They love helping you. They love helping nonprofits, taking them by the hand and walking them through this process. And we have people that will answer the phone. You can talk to, and we'll walk you through the process. It's not online support. It's actually live voice-to-voice support when you need it. And then, of course, lots of other things behind websites. We do marketing and printing and strategic guidance and all kinds of other things too. But that's enough about us. I'm not going to talk about Firespring anymore. I'm going to go back to our education with a purpose, and that is to share with you all these educational opportunities coming up. Converting supporters with powerful landing pages. I mentioned the power of blogging and thought leadership. I touched on a few other things here as we were going through. I touched on email marketing. Well, we have an entire session around how to leverage and elevate email marketing. It's called the 5 Secrets of Email Marketing Geniuses, how to get the most out of your website, all kinds of topics that will make it possible for you to elevate your usefulness of these tools and to maximize the impact you make in your community. So we'd love to have you join us for more of those. All right, with that, Julia, we have a few minutes for questions. What questions have come across that we might want to address?
Hey Jay, thank you so much. Yeah, one question that we have in here, I feel like we've gotten this one before, but they're curious more about the landing pages. Is there such a thing as too many landing pages, and do you need one for each different campaign on your website?
So the answers are no and yes. You cannot have too many landing pages, and yes, you do need one for each individual campaign. If you have a project and you're raising money specifically for a project or an initiative or a time frame, there should be a landing page for each of those. For every event that you might have, there should be a landing page for each separate event. There should be a landing page where people can come and sign up to volunteer. If you have different types of programs and services, you want people to come and learn more about those particular types of products and services and the different things that you do. You might be able to make it possible for them to download a white paper or maybe to access a video training on this certain aspect. All of those are examples of landing pages. We lead people into making decisions by bringing them to a landing page that makes it simple and straightforward for them to take action, to click on a button and follow the path. So you cannot have too many. I know nonprofits that have literally hundreds of landing pages, and those are the nonprofits that maximize their findability and their ability to interact with their constituents at a really high levels. If you want to learn more about landing pages, I would encourage you to attend that specific session we have, because we do go deeper into that.
Absolutely, Jay. Yeah, it's a great webinar to attend as well. So the next question here is more with the current times. Is there any advice or unique tips that you have for people on how they can use their website in this digital world that we're living in?
No question that there are more people. We have stats that show that people are actively engaging more on websites now than they were pre-COVID. We know this, but that's because we're most of us are at home or locked in somewhere where we're not free to go out and about as we used to, and we're spending more time online. Some people, not all, but some people are using that time to engage more deeply with nonprofits, especially through their website. So if you have deep educational content, you're going to win in this pandemic because you're going to have more people that are searching through it. There's never been a better time in the history of, going all the way back to when websites were created in the 90s and all the way through today. There's never been a better time to be focused on building out the content and the usefulness of your website, the interactiveness of your website, so that people can come there for information. So yeah, we're seeing more people more often coming to the website. So it's really important that you focus on the things that you can do to help lead them to take action, whatever that means to you, whatever decisions that you want them to make. And we've seen a huge rise in virtual events, clearly. I just attended an in-person event that was 90% virtual, 10% in person. And we're seeing some of those as well. Those kind of a mixed audience. But if you haven't attempted any virtual events yet, look around, maybe attend a couple that other nonprofits are doing and get a sense as to how they're coming across and what they're working, or how they're working, and decide if it's something that you want to pursue or not. But there are some opportunities to dig into that.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Jay. Well, I think that's all we have in the questions panel, so I'll go ahead and hand it back over to you to wrap us up.
Thank you, Julia, so much. Just as a reminder to everybody, in just a moment, we're going to close the session down. And when we do that, automatically a window is going to pop up. It'll be a questions box. And it's going to ask, I think, 5 questions. We would really deeply appreciate you taking the time to fill those out. And it's going to be our cue. If you fill that quick questionnaire out, the survey that will pop up, it will be our cue for us to know that you do indeed want to get a copy of everything that appeared on the screen today, as well as a link to the recorded version of this session that will allow you to go back and view certain parts over if you'd like to, or maybe share it with others on your team or on your board or whomever. So please take a moment to fill that out. We would really appreciate that. And before we wrap up, I want to say thank you. The greatest gift that you can give to anyone is the gift of your time, and the fact that you've chosen to spend this last hour with us. Julia, myself, our entire team at Firespring, we do not take that obligation lightly. We work very hard to make sure that we maximize the outcome and the results of you taking that time and dedicating that to join us. So thank you for giving us the gift of your time. And I believe that the noblest of all professions is to live one's life to impact others. And the fact that you have chosen at least this part of your journey in the nonprofit sector, in case you don't hear it often enough, thank you for doing what you do. Have a fabulous afternoon. Now go take on the day.